The installation process had us do a quick setup of Melodyne, but now let's go in-depth into the audio and MIDI setup. This way, you'll know where and how to adjust your settings for whatever might arise in the future. All the settings we need are in the Preferences section. If you ever changed your audio interface, or if you didn't know what to pick when you set up your hardware on the installation, choose Hardware. Choose a device driver, usually ASIO on the PC or Core Audio on the Mac. Select a sample rate. You can pick as high a resolution as your hardware supports. We'll leave this at 44.1 kHz. Buffer size. This is the parameter that determines how much latency you experience. In the installation process, we set it to 256 samples, which should yield a decent latency setting on most hardware. Lower this figure if you need better latency performance, or raise it if your system starts to perform slowly or gives you pops and clicks in the audio. In some cases, depending on the audio card, you can't change these settings from the pull-down, and you have to use the control panel button. Again, only some of you will see this control panel button. Moving right along, check Ignore Buffer Underruns. This will allow Melodyne to tolerate the odd pop or click instead of causing dropouts due to lack of power, which can cause slower systems to crash. File cache. This determines how much sample time Melodyne keeps in main memory during playback. The smaller the file cache, the more strain on the RAM. The higher the cache setting, the more strain on the hard drive. Start with a setting of 5 to 10 milliseconds. Next, go to the recording section. Choose your file format here. Usually, you'll pick WAV if you're using the PC and AIFF on the Mac. If you really want to be cross-platform compatible, make sure it's WAV on the Mac also. For your resolution setting, choose the bit depth. There's no incorrect answer here. You have a choice of 8, 16, 24, or 32-bit. The higher you go, the better the audio quality. I tend to leave mine at 32-bit, but be aware that it does take up a little more space on your hard drive. What you pick might ultimately depend on the resolution of the destination project in another program, assuming that there is one. Melodyne uses a temporary folder for unsaved arrangements. An unsaved arrangement means we started working on a project in Melodyne, imported or recorded in some files, but haven't saved the project yet. It's good to know where a program puts files, especially temporary ones, just in case you have to hunt them down later, so we can tell Melodyne where to store them here. I like to keep mine simple, on a separate drive called Melodyne temp files. That's it for our audio setup. What about the MIDI? Let's go to MIDI ports. Melodyne has a great deal of MIDI functionality, like actually being able to translate your pitches into MIDI, using VST plugins, synchronization, and controlling Melodyne from remote. We'll get to all that stuff later in the relevant chapters. For now, just set the default input to whatever controller keyboard you're using, and your out to your main tone module if you have one. If you use a lot of virtual instruments or don't have an external tone module, just set this to none. We'll talk about MIDI timecode and MIDI clock in our synchronization video. That's more than good enough for now. That's all there is to it. You're all set up and ready to go.